So let's say you take a hunting horn and then turn it into a monster. What do you get? You get Qurupeco. Making his debut in the 3rd generation, Qurupeco was a very interesting monster, a bird wyvern whose main ability is to call other monsters to its aid. Now, if I'm not mistaken, usually I do a lot of research to this. I remember faintly hearing something about this, but this is not the only monster to do this. The other monster who could do this is either Lost to the Sands of Time, Frontier, or something like that, or was debuted in a generation that I never played. But nevertheless, Qurupeco in the 3rd generation, his biggest claim to fame is that he is a bird wyvern who can call other monsters to his aid, like a Great Jaggy, a Raytheon, a Rathalos, Diablos, Devil Joe himself. Any of these monsters are actually free game for him to actually call upon to assist it when things are getting dire for it. Now, it's not the only monster you can actually do, but before we get to the rest of that, let's just get into what it is Qurupeco can do. Qurupeco can call other monsters, but I did mention he's more like a hunting horn. So one thing to really note is that he himself can buff himself. So he'll actually have attacking dances or calls, if you will, defense dances or calls, and he can actually restore his own health. So these are things that you kind of need to see him do. Well, not necessarily see him do, but kind of be on the watch out for. But in order for him to not do any of these things, when he starts to make these calls, he has this red sack on his chest. If you attack that, and I guess a little luck is involved too, because it doesn't always go away with one hit. Hit it a couple times while he's actually doing the call, and then he'll freak out. He'll get stunned, if you will. He'll stop the call and he'll run away, and then the monsters won't come or the buffs won't come out. Or you do it in the middle of when he's trying to do a buff, and the buff goes to you instead, which is a thing. Yes, so if he completes the buff, the buffing, the attack, the defense, the health, whatever, he'll give it to itself and any other monster in the vicinity. But if you stop it, it'll actually go to you. So these are things to note about the Qurupeco. Other than that, he has a couple of attacks that are actually kind of hard hitting. The main one to really note is his Flint clapping attack. Now, he is a fire monster, quote unquote, but he doesn't actually shoot fireballs or have a fire breath or anything like that. On his wings are 2 flints, one in each hand, and you'll see him actually clap them together from time to time. He'll make a weird noise. He'll go and then like you'll see him. He'll jump around and like clap his hands together. Doesn't usually have like a huge like flame to them, but if he hits you with it, you will be afflicted with fire. He has the flint clapping that actually hits quite hard. He also has an ability where he'll usually fly in the sky for a second and he'll shoot these balls of slime at you. What they do is they reduce your resistances to fire. If anything, it's like oil, because now he can actually do a whole lot more damage to you with the fire claps. Well, the flint claps with the fire. So on, you get the drill. Other than that, he has a running attack like most monsters do, and he has a tail spinning attack that actually is pretty annoying. It knocks you clean away, but he does it kind of slow. The one thing to note about him though, much like every other monster you will be fighting up until this point, is whenever they do a tail spinner or the like, they will do it twice. Now, one last note I want to actually mention for the Qurupeco is that he is the first monster you fight in this game who has the ability to fly away. Now, he has a very odd flight pattern, and if you aren't paying attention, you will be lost. You'll be running around this area for like the next 13 minutes trying to look for this guy because he flew away, and usually you can look at the shadow on the ground and like, oh yeah, he just went that way. In this particular map, that's not always that cut and dry, so make sure you use a paintball so that way you always know where he's going to be located at whenever he does fly away. So just to know for the, I guess, the newer hunters out there. Veteran hunters like myself, we either A, know where he's going, or B, we act like we know where he's going, and we're also lost right along with you. So yeah, it happened to me a few times. I mean, in this recording, I got lost twice. Nevertheless, moving on. So I'll talk about what he can do. His abilities aren't too wild, too vast, too varied. His biggest claim to fame, like I said, is he'll call other monsters to his aid. And then when he does have a big brother monster in the vicinity with him, for the most part, if he's not currently fighting, depending on who it is, if it's a Great Jaggy, he'll fight along the Great Jaggy. But if it's like Devil Joe or something like that, he will fight along the Devil Joe, but for the most part, he will just call out buffs. He'll just be buffing. You know what I'm talking about, the hunting horn users who sit in the corner. I forgot, there was a name for those guys. They sit in the corner of the map, and they just throw out all them buffs all day. That's literally what the Qurupeco does. He's a literal hunting horn as a monster. So outside of all that, what else does the Qurupeco have? Well, he has gear. His armor is pretty meh. It's not that bad. I mean, it's pretty cool. It's actually some of the first armor you get in the game that's actually worth getting, in my true and earnest and honest opinion. As far as the skills go, we're looking at Winres Low, Wide Range, and Maestro. Now, Winres Low, let's talk about it for a minute. Now, Winres is a really odd ability that a lot of people don't really fully understand. What Winres Low does, certain monsters, smaller monsters, monsters this size, if they have wind pressure, you can actually negate it. Wind pressure low, smaller wings, smaller monsters, low wind, that kind of thing. There's also certain monsters like the Zenogre, who's a bigger monster, who also has wind pressure on some of his attacks. His paw slams, for example, they actually have some wind pressure on them. Wait, not his paw slams. I think when he throws both his hands down together and kind of like pokes his chest out or whatever. This is for veterans, of course, you know, newer people won't even know what I'm talking about. But for those who are inquiring, there's wind pressure on that attack. With wind res low, you can actually negate that. Now, wind res high is for like bigger monsters, Rathalos, Raytheon, they're flying around and all that stuff. But nevertheless, he gives you wind res low, so whenever you need to fight him again, you're not going to be affected by any of the wind pressure he necessarily gives off himself, so that's kind of cool. Maestro is well, not exclusively, but for the most part, it is a hunting horn ability. Now, it makes sense. The hunting horn monster has the hunting horn ability. What Maestro does is it doubles the time in which certain come on brain. When you play a song on the hunting horn, it lasts longer. There you go. That's what Maestro does. Also, if you have things like the demon horn, the armor horn, and the health horn, they don't break. Well, I don't know. Do they break still? Extended durability on those horns. Excuse me. Also, wide range, it allows you to take certain items like a potion that you would take for yourself, and that the effects of that item gets extended to your friends. So when you take a potion, everyone takes a potion essentially. Kind of cool, right? Yeah. Now with weapons, not that bad, not that many, truth be told, but they're going to be your first foray into fire weapons this early in the game. At this point in the game, it could very well be your possibly certain weapons kind of skirt the line a little bit. Ludroth weapons, you can get a Ludroth weapon with some water and never actually fight a Royal Ludroth himself, but for the most part, this is going to be one of your first elemental weapons. And the Qurupeco Chopper, the Sword and Shield, in my opinion, is one of my favorite Sword and Shields. It leads into something much, much greater down the line, but for the most part, it's how you're going to get your fire weapons off the bat, because after him, you got to fight the Royal Ludroth, and it's good to kind of go in there with a weapon that the Royal Ludroth himself is actually weak to, with an element, I should say, rather. Those weapons are pretty okay. They're not the greatest things in the world. They're basically the type of weapons you would need to upgrade into other things. So it's weapons, it's fire weapons, upgrading to stronger fire weapons, and there's a Crimson variant down the line we're not going to talk about, but whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So Qurupeco in a nutshell is just a monster himself who's actually pretty freaking stinking interesting. We've never seen this monster outside of the 3rd generation. He's super cool, he's incredibly flamboyant, he's very colorful, very vivid, but for whatever reason Capcom don't like him that much, so they left him here in the 3rd generation. So what I'm going to do for you guys for the next couple of days, for as long as I can think about doing this, or until Rise or whatever comes out, the next, what's it called, Sunbreak? Is it called Sunbreak? Icebreak? Sunrise. Whenever Sunrise comes out, I will, up until then, I'll give you guys videos of monsters who never left my favorite generation, the 3rd generation, the 3rd gen drip, dippity dip, go underwater generation. I kind of want to do a Royal Ludroth video just because, even though he was already in Rise, but I kind of want to do one just because I really like the Royal Ludroth, not the Loyal Ludroth. I say that all the time. But yeah, everyone, thanks so much for watching. This has been the Qurupeco, and yeah, this is kind of a guide video, and also more of it just me sitting up and talking. Honestly, I'm literally just talking into the microphone. I haven't done any research. It's just stuff I have on the top of my head because I know this generation so well and this monster so well as well. So yeah, maybe one day someone could watch this video and think, hey, this guide helped out a lot. Or for people just like my content, there you go, more content, because I've been lacking hard. Anyway, take care. It's been your boy.